Executive Voices is the podcast series that takes you inside the world of top leaders. And in this episode, we have turned the spotlight on women in leaders. Now, every designation has a story of hard work, dedication, and resilience which we don't often hear and see. So, let's start, guys.
I am, which is I'm realizing I think I'm taking the fun of it. Give me the easier ones.
Okay, I'll just...
Like you write.
Yes, I'll just go with this.
Maybe we'll edit that part out. But am I taking the fun of this fun exercise?
Correct.
Let's do a podcast. Let's actually have women leaders and have them on board, hear them talk about their challenges, their strategic moves, their bold decision. If you had to unlearn something along the way, what did you unlearn?
That you cannot compartmentalize your life beyond a point. That you are wearing multiple hats and it's okay.
As women, we are always seen very emotional. Makes us very empathetic.
We keep iterating that this is high stakes, then it creates a pressure. Everything you do is high stake, embrace it.
We are so excited to have you here today at our podcast Executive Voices by Amplyft. So which is created as a precursor of our women leadership program called Elevate Her. So we are still building the program, and that's when the founder Archana was like, let's do a podcast. Let's actually have women leaders and have them on board, hear them talk about their challenges, their strategic moves, their bold decision to solely aim and inspire all our listeners and all the women watching the podcast. So I'm just going to introduce you all to the audience. First, we have Veetika Deoras. She's a seasoned professional with 23 years of cross-sectoral experience across hospitality, retail, financial services, telecom, and consumer goods. She has worked in various companies like Titan, Tata Capital, Starbucks, and is now the Senior Vice President for Brands and Marketing at the Indian Hotels Company Limited. Wow. Veetika has led teams across digital strategy, data analytics, business planning, strategic planning, product management, consumer strategy, brand and marketing management, and PR. In her current role, she is responsible for strategically managing all the marquee brands at the Indian Hotels Company Limited, including Taj, which is recognized as the world's strongest hotel brand in 2024 by Brand Finance. She is a great advocate of diversity and is passionate about mentoring women to help them achieve their potential. She loves the outdoor and is an avid sports person. Wow, you wear so many hats.
Yeah, it sounds nice. Let's just hire her.
So I wanted to ask, you have done so many roles and you literally wear so many hats. So how did you like, if you had to unlearn something along the way, what did you unlearn? Because with dealing with so much.
I think, when I started my career, I had this fictitious concept of work-life balance. And I think what I quickly realized in a decade or so was that, frankly, it isn't a balance that exists in two distinct spaces. It's actually more of an intertwining. So the phrase that I like to use today is work-life integration, because there is just so much happening across all frontiers and happening 24/7 that you cannot compartmentalize your life beyond a point. So the choices that I now make is that if I'm sitting in an extremely tedious meeting or a difficult meeting or even an important meeting, and I get a call from my son who wants to talk to me about, who's just finished his paper and he wants to talk to me about it for 2 minutes, I will take that call. And of course, it works the other way around as well. So if I am sitting on a dinner conversation and there's an urgent work call, I will need to excuse myself for 2 minutes. But I think, and frankly, I've been doing that for many years now, and I don't think it's that disruptive. The pressure of not taking that call and continuing with what you're doing often lands up being more. So it's okay to excuse yourself for 2 minutes. I think everyone in the room, whether it's your family or your work colleagues, realize that you are wearing multiple hats, and it's okay.
Yeah, I like how it's a two-way street. It's not like just at work you're taking your son's call. It's also at the dinner table you are taking the work call.
Absolutely.
That's like a great balance. I would love to introduce Aishwarya Jaishankar. She's the founder and COO of Hyperface, the definitive credit cards innovation platform. By experience, she is a seasoned digital banker with over a decade of experience in driving innovation and scaling disruptive products in the financial services sector. She has played pivotal role in the digital transformation journeys of prominent banks like Kotak Mahindra and HSBC India. Wow, notably she is credited with the launch of India's first fully digitally reimagined savings account, a milestone in the evolution of retail banking in the country. As the co-founder and COO of Hyperface, Aishwarya continues to leverage her deep industry knowledge to build the most advanced modern banking platform, starting with credit cards. Hyperface enables banks and co-brands to offer hyper-personalized and seamless digital solution. They work with leading banks and consumer co-brand like Ixigo and Google Pay. This is so interesting. Like you're literally breaking the stereotype of women in tech.
The least techie as I can be. I'm more a consumer marketer. I started my career in advertising. I think folks in my generation, where we have been very lucky, is we have seen digital take center stage, right? We have seen from what was earlier a dialogue between you and the customer, suddenly everything is direct. You're directly talking from to the customer without a media.
Yeah.
I think that has been very radical in the way we have all approached marketing, and some of us have been lucky to jump from a marketing into a bank marketing role. I was scoffed at literally. So, and I was also bored sending posters to branches. To me, I would say maybe my calling came with the first digital form I created, the kind of responses and the whole agility that digital gives, right? Today there is a banner. I know the click through. Tomorrow I can change it. I can immediately measure progress. To me, I would say that's still a wow moment, how much you can improve lives, especially financial services is very close to each of us, right? I mean, all of us worry about money. How can you make life simple there? Using technology is what interests me rather than tech itself. So to that extent, I call myself a consumer marketer who uses tech for giving great banking experiences versus a technologist. There are enough of them. I have huge respect. I'm not one of them, but I think I'm a business or marketing user of tech is how I would describe myself. And that hat is important to wear because you can get buried in a lot of tech and jargons. It's important to sort of bring back the user and say, okay, what do they really want? How can I simplify or demystify things for them?
You're doing so much, yet you're sounding so humble. It's literally very overwhelming because digitalizing so much, and of course with the digital world, I think you're just being very humble. One question I would like to, one question I would like to ask you is, as a leader, when you're working with prominent organization and banks, from now to being a CEO and a founder of your own company, co-founder. So how, like in your career of decades, how has your leadership changed over time? From working for someone and from now like having your own company, how do you lead differently now?
One of the key things that drives you, I mean, to be an entrepreneur itself, of course, apart from the risk taking, I think it's also ownership. I would define the journey as entrepreneurship to entrepreneurship. Because even within organizations, especially the kind of roles I've done, I've always been the one who's pushing and saying, in fact, I remember keeping this plate which says, why not in my desk? Because every time you go to an operator, Veetika can relate, I'm sure, in large organizations, there is a lot of this is how things are done. This is how it is. Operations has to work like this. And when you're coming in, digitizing, bringing in new things, it's very important to say why not. It's very important to have that high level of ownership and curiosity to break down things. So from wearing that hat, it has been a little seamless to wear the entrepreneur hat where ownership is a given, right? When you're an entrepreneur. But I think the challenge is here is advocacy.
Okay.
It's very easy to go in the large organization and say, hey, this is the CEO, blessed project, here are the budgets. Here you are your salesperson, you are your advocate, you are your brand, everything. Especially in the early years, recently I went to a large bank and that person didn't know me and he knew Hyperface. I remember excitedly messaging my team, this is where I want Hyperface to be. For a company, it's very important. All these are phases. For first, it's known by the founders. Next, it is known by the work.
Yeah.
So that phase, I would say the journey to me is not too different from an ownership perspective. What has changed is accountability. What you bring into the table keeps increasing and you have to constantly keep upgrading yourself to be ready for the next level. That I think is a continuous journey for any professional.
Yeah, I so agree. Like these titles that you both own, they sound big, but it comes with so much hard work, so much resilience that you guys are like very humbly owning it. That is so beautiful to see. I wanted to ask both of you, like, what barriers you all faced as women leaders, and how did you all push through it? Like for you, like of course you go to the bank, you are at this platform,
I think
and
women
how?
talking tech is only difficult. I'm being
I know,
honest, right? I
yeah,
mean, we are
yeah.
going through the second. See, we've all gone through our pressures of motherhood. I have two kids. Every time you go back, it is going back and proving that you're up for it and you're in the running. That's not easy, right? Especially with the baby and things like that. So the second thing, I wouldn't really call it gender alone, right? I feel there are many barriers. Your personality, for example, right? I get very interested with new ideas. When the boss is very, can I give her something that will need establishing and running things? So, as a professional, you are always somewhere breaking some barrier or another. Nobody has it easy. I think that's something that if we keep it in mind, then you tend to look around the world very differently. Just as you're trying to break through, somebody else is also. The second thing that has come along the way, as funny as it sounds, I'm this aggressive one who has gotten things done, but my peer group. It's been very precious for me. And today, when I start up, every bank I go, my peer group is everywhere. And the kind of relationships you build with your peer group, I would say those are the things that breaks barrier. In a room, who can advocate for you when you're not there? We often, in our aggression, in our obsession to grow, we miss that point. The sooner we realize that it is about other people talking about your work and you being helping them and enabling them, then the way you look at barriers becomes very different. So when I walk into a room these days, I'm not trying to sell hyperface. I'm trying to see, okay, what is the problem this business it faces? How can I solve for it? Maybe there are some problems I can just give them some references. If they say collection agencies aren't working, that's maybe not a problem we solve currently. But it's important to go in with that hat of enabling, go in with that, because a lot of times we're obsessed with what we are achieving.
Right. So more than the gender, it's about what you're bringing to the table, the problem-solving thing, or the responsibility and the technicality that you own.
So when you go into the room, I like to say, try to be the best.
Yes.
That will ease things out and try to help people out.
Yes.
These
Yeah.
are maybe the two
What
things.
about you, Veetika?
So we have seen different decades, and we've seen decades where women have had to uh, carve their way a little bit more. And then we have seen a decade where it's continued, but small things have started changing. I think what's very important for a woman leader is to understand that she's a leader first and a woman second. If you want to be treated in a gender agnostic way, you need to behave in a gender agnostic way. And you need to believe it from the inside. Because only then will you be able to look at everyone as people and not as specifically men or women. And I think that gets projected. So I think the barriers are sometimes also in our mind.
Yeah.
Having said that, it's not been an easy journey, so I'm not for once trying to look over or belittle the struggles that all of us face. And truth be told, we face some of them even today. And I think that's where I would completely agree with Aishwarya, that it's important to build your network. A network of people. You will always have some people who are bringing you down, and you'll always have those few people who will bat for you. It's important to lean on more and maybe listen more to the people who are batting for you, and sometimes let the noise be.
And when you deal high-stake situations, and which I'm sure you must be going through it every day, given your designation and everything, how do you approach that? These very difficult high-stake situations. Like you said, correct, it's also essential to listen. But when you are the one talking, how do you navigate through these high-stake situations?
So, I think the biggest skill set I've developed, and I can tell you, and we were talking about it some time back, that I wasn't born with it, but is the art of listening. There's insane amounts of strength in that. Insane. And, no one takes away your power or no one takes away your decision-making ability if you just listen. In fact, so many times I've entered meetings where I've just probably listened to everyone for the first 90%. But then it just empowers me with so much of information, data, perspectives, the softer listening. When you're listening to somebody, you're not only listening to what they're saying, you're also listening to where they're coming from, their perspective. And then you're just much better prepared to take the last 10%. I think by then they're also very tired of speaking, so they give you that airtime rather than fighting for it. But jokes apart, I think that just equips you with a lot of hard facts and softer learnings, which just help making a lot of decisions a tad easier.
That's actually a good strategy, that, always have the last say when everyone is done saying. They have no other choice but to listen to you then.
You can try that as a parent as well. Works on kids.
Aishwarya, for you, how do you balance long-term strategy with short-term pressures in your role? Like, as your organization, you have a lot of short-term pressure role about capital or about staff, revenue. Then how do you have a view on your long-term goal while also you're dealing with a lot of short-term pressures?
See, I feel it's important to define who you are and what you're doing as an organization. Fundamentally, everything to me stems back from there. The temptation to give into a short-term is always high, but sometimes it goes back to what is the kind of company we want to build. Like from day one, we've been very clear that we're a product platform. We're not here to give for developers that anybody can do. With due respect, it needs a certain mindset, and there are people doing it well. Is that what we really want to do? Just as human beings, there is that core values, mission, vision. I think it's even more important for organizations. It will spill through every decision of yours, be it your hiring decisions, be it the kind of clients you want to go pitch to, be it the kind of solutions you build. So it's very important to long term, more than strategy, I would say have a vision that defines where you want to be 5 years, 3 years from now. Learn the art of saying no. Especially for short-term pressures, the immediate reflex should be, do I really want to do it? A lot of times short-term pressures come masqueraded as abhi karna hai. Karna hai kya? That abhi ko nikal ke karna hai.
Don't give into that.
Also, you need to give the power to yourself that I'm deciding. Rather than being a victim of circumstances. A lot of times you take short-term decisions when you think you're a victim of circumstances. You sometimes need to step back and say, okay, this is the company we need to build. We've had a bank telling us do operations and customer service outsourcing also with us. We just stepped back. We've been talking to them for 9 months. We stepped back, both me and my co-founder. We said, this is not what we want to do. We went back to the room and we just communicated that. Because it's very important for building organization. I think even larger organization, that long-term vision, goal, and how everything aligns back to that is something that leaders have to do constantly. It's not something that's sitting on a charter or on a piece of paper. It is something you have to live and breathe so that the organization goes towards that. Executive, younger level, they are doing. But I feel leaders have to pull up the organization to the vision. It becomes inevitable in a leadership role.
Right. So the key is don't give in into short-term temptations.
Learn to say no.
And learn to say no. Yes. I'm definitely going to remember that.
Another point I want to touch base upon is, as women, we are always seen very emotional. But then that is also a very powerful tool, like you said, that makes us very empathetic. And although we're emotional, like you said, you always listen everyone. You are a great listener that helps you gauge a situation, gives you a good perspective. So can you tell me an instance where, being very empathetic was seen as a power for you to build trust and credibility as a leader?
So I think as you start going higher up the ranks, your ability to really do the job is not what is the need of the hour. What is the need of the hour is how do you get everyone to do their jobs? How do you create an environment in which they feel safe and secure to give their best? And how do you help them when they hit a little bit of troubled waters? So I do think that empathy is probably, if I may say so, one of the biggest skills that you need as a leader. So do I have situations where I need to, practice empathy? Actually, all the time. Because today, if I was to look at my things to do, I would probably have no direct projects on my plate. But indirectly across my team, I would have probably 90 plus projects that I'm overseeing. Now, my team is going to come to me only when they need a little bit of coaching or when, like I said, they hit a little bit of trouble. Now, in both these contexts, more than my skill sets, what is really needed sometimes is just a little bit of coaching, being a little bit of a sounding board, just giving them a ear, helping them understand that they may be approaching a problem from a perspective and somebody else may be looking at it from a different perspective. Or like I said, just create an environment of security. So I think as a leader, empathy is practiced and exhibited almost 24/7. And in fact, I would go a step ahead and say it's one of the greatest skills that any leader must develop. And no one's perfect at it. After having done more than 2 decades, I would probably say I'm about 50% there, and I still have miles to go.
Oh, thanks for that answer. It was very reassuring. I would love to work with you, like if like this.
You gotta see.
I would like to ask you, Aishwarya, when the times you're highly overwhelmed or you have a lot on your plate, how do you stay grounded during those moments?
No, as funny as it sounds, all that hard work and juggling that you're doing in your early days grounds you a lot. There have been time, I mean, I started in advertising. I'm not kidding. We actually had to do relief tapes. Veetika, you know, right? I started in client servicing in advertising. Then, I mean, I also worked almost as many years as Veetika. 2 decades, starting from there. Telephone numbers, I mean, I used to handle Ford icon. Dealer phone numbers, you're checking 20 telephone numbers. So the level of, you get into a zen when you are into a lot of details. And as you grow, what happens? It's the same thing. The job from checking telephone numbers, it becomes getting a verification or reference for a senior leader you're hiring. Task remain as it is, but you learn that ability to develop that zen quality to say, I have to do this really well. I was telling you, right? I have to keep the phone aside and focus on this. I think this whole thing again, right? If we keep iterating that this is high stakes, then it creates a pressure. Everything you do is high stake. Embrace it. As a co-founder of a company, as a senior leader of an organization, whatever you do is going to impact. So it's better to frame it as this is important. This is something that needs my attention right now. I'll finish this. Instead of getting very hungover, oh my God, this decision has an implication, which creates a pressure. The better way to look at it for me is this needs to have a decision now. Implication aside, I have to decide now. I can't be waiting for a because it's high stakes.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I look at things. You know, the more tasks you have, better to get into a zen mode. And second is to do it, eat that frog versus sitting on it saying, oh, this is very important.
So from the sound of it, I feel you're really good at negotiating.
Oh, please.
Like you know when to say no, you know when to be
I
grounded.
really wish, no, there is that perception and reality thing. I think what we're discussing is my perception.
So I would like to ask you that we all have to go through these difficult conversations, which we think they're not really important, but they are really important. And the only reason we are stalling it because those are the difficult conversations. So how do you navigate through these difficult conversations without being labeled too aggressive or too emotional?
I'm smiling because I have been too aggressive, I have been too emotional. There have been moments in career that I look back and cringe saying I could have done this better. So when we answer these questions, remember that 22 years, 23 years of work is behind us when we answer these questions, right? Coming back, I'm framing what you said as how do you ask or advocate for yourself,
Yes.
right? I think it again goes back. This has been a realization over the last 5, 6, 7 years, which is how much have you given back to ask back? A lot of times we are thinking only about ourselves in the table. When you're going and asking for a raise, can we frame it as what have we done? How do you think what we've done is important? Day to day, are we focusing on what will add value to the organization, what will add value? A lot of times, this is what happens, right? I come in, I'm swimming with 30 things to do, and I'm just doing it. In my mind, I'm doing so much. But how much of it meaningfully added? So I feel it goes back to the tendency to step back and say, am I giving back? Is what I'm bringing in valuable? Second thing is, once you've built that conviction that it is, that's why it is important to do that stepping back and keep evaluating, maybe have periodic check-ins. When I was with HSBC, they have lovely global frameworks. I'm sure Tata Group is also like that. So one of those important things they insisted, Veetika, was checking in with your manager. Now, checking in didn't entail job task. Checking in just meant, hey, this is where I am. This is where I am in terms of my goals. Do you think I'm supported? Do you think what I'm aspiring? Those conversations are so helpful, either whether you are, because a lot of times you're discussing just tasks with people around. In fact, we have now created a quarterly framework where all my managers go and listen to the team without, for example, somebody, all these are kids in Bengaluru. They might want to do an MBA abroad. How is the company supporting them in their career aspirations or life aspirations is equally important as getting the task done. So to go and ask, it is important first to build the nature of saying, am I giving? When you're giving, then it is a natural flow that I know I'm giving, I'm contributing and be able to ask. It's just explaining to you about going and asking a bank for a repricing. It worked because they've seen value on what we do. That is important to. If you say I won't do anything, pay me. It's not going to work like that.
If I have to make a gist of it, you take a step back and you actually make a point in your head that this is what I'm offering. Be very confident about it, yes, and just ask for it.
Yeah, and don't do it as an ad hoc thing. Spend the time in stepping back.
Evaluating and actually introspecting, yes, okay. Knowing your strengths, what all have you done, and then you just go on the
How
table
did you
and
contribute? How did you give to them that now you want to take back?
right. That's actually very interesting. What about you, Veetika? How do you negotiate effectively? Also without not sounding too aggressive or not sounding too emotional about it?
So I think the two parts to this question. The first is about being aggressive or emotional. I think it's important to bring our passion to work, but not necessarily bring all our emotions to work. Am I passionate about my work? Insanely. Does it mean that sometimes I feel like I'm on top of the world and sometimes I feel that I've hit rock bottom? Of course I do. But how I deal with it is now my emotional, that's where my emotions come in. So I think passion and a lot of positivity, yes, is what we need to bring. But otherwise, we also need to develop the ability to look at decisions in a slightly more data-based and a little more, and this is never an either or an or situation, right? Every decision we make is a blended decision. But it's important to sometimes bring a lot of passion to work, but keep a little bit of emotions. There will be times when we will, like I said, flip. We will be feeling really great about ourselves or feeling really bad. And that's just human. Which is where I think how you tackle those emotions and how do you make the best of them comes in. But that's a different topic altogether, and that's in the space of emotional maturity. On negotiation, I really do think that it's, of course, everything that she said, I completely agree to. And it's important to understand that negotiations are never a point of time. That's also a way of building relationships. So you have to understand that it has to be a win-win. If either of the two parties are trying to trick the other party into giving more and receiving less or vice versa, then it's not an equation that will work in the long run. I think every negotiation that you sit on the table is actually a complete reflection of you as a person, on how honest you are, how transparent you are. Of course, you need to bring value on the table, and both parties do, which is where the negotiation begins. But beyond that, there are two human beings who are sitting across the table and negotiating for companies, right? Yes. But it's a very human conversation. And therefore, I think professional negotiations as well work on the same principles of honesty, trust, transparency, genuinely building a win-win situation, not trying to shortchange anyone.
Wow, that's a very good crux of negotiating effectively. I'd like to ask that in a situation where between a career growth or a personal priority, like I know you said that you balance it really well, but let's say if you have to pick and it's a very intense situation, then how do you deal in a situation like this?
Whichever is more urgent will end up taking priority. And absolutely no qualms of saying it either way. So, like I said, if sometimes family needs to take precedence, and it must. And at times work does need to take precedence, and it must. Having said that, I'll tell you what's very important in this context is that you need to realize that and make your peace with it. More importantly, you need to met the same treatment out to your colleagues and your team. So I can't be sitting in a situation where I am balancing and I'm integrating and I'm intertwining, but I'm not allowing my team to do that. It's very, very important to allow them to do the same, which means that if my colleague, and it's a very recent case last month, was working on two very, very strategic projects which were at the last leg, and we had a decent amount of money to lose if they wouldn't have taken off at the right time. And unfortunately, he had a personal emergency. And I didn't speak to him for almost 2 weeks. So I think it's important to then step in, take over, but allow that colleague to manage his work-life integration as well.
That's such a good skill as a leader.
I'm hoping, but like I said, we're all, I think, a 5 out of 10 right now. Yes.
Yeah.
What about you, Aishwarya? Like, what systems or boundaries do you have to manage your energy levels and just play a good role as a leader or as a parent, partner, individual?
I think I'm a little high energy and everything. So my mornings are very cherished for me. I would sit with my tea and do nothing for at least half an hour. Even when I'm traveling on work, that's something I don't compromise on. I've started my walks and everything because we're reaching an age where exercise is non-negotiable. So those activities definitely count. But I think to preserve your energy, the main thing to do is a pretty funny thing I realized once I started up is there is no us versus them in the organization anymore. Everybody is my team, right? The PMO team might come today, it might be the sales team tomorrow, product one day, design another. A lot of times we spend our energies in that us versus them thinking, right? And it is also deflating. You're always constantly thinking you're in a battle with somebody or the other. I feel to preserve your energy, again, it is important to think you're all doing things together. Right? Even when I'm going for a meeting, which might be particularly difficult, I need to sort of frame myself and center myself, saying, just as she said, they need something, just as we need something from them as well. So those kind of that centering activities are very helpful when you feel very stressed, very this thing. Take a minute, maybe sit in the restroom or sit in your desk, deep breathe and keep reevaluating your goals, life goals, everything, and this you'll realize it's in one small pocket and you can achieve it versus trying to attach too much whatever to a momentary thing. A lot of things are momentary actually. Yes, it impacts, it all adds up, but I would never say, I'm sure Veetika would also agree, there is never that one single decision that completely, it happens in movies and butterfly effects, but careers are built on multiple moments. You will get your chances even if you get things right, wrong. So keep recentering yourself and sort of find that place where you're doing things in an inner peace. That's very important.
I love this, the answer that you gave. Like, it's never us versus them, it's just all together. And I think the moment you see it that way, yeah, everything that's going inside just sort of calms down and then you just operate differently once you know it's a team.
So, in fact, when we talk about handling conflict between large teams or between team members, there are 2-3 rules that I keep reiterating, not just to the team, but also to myself, because we are in that conflict sometimes. And one of them is exactly this, that the minute you start seeing every individual as a part of your team, or you start seeing yourself as a part of their team, your whole perspective changes. And you should try that sometimes. It is such an enabling and such a strengthening thought process to have. So then suddenly when there's a conflict between my team and let's say another team, but the minute I start viewing them all as my team or me as their team, the whole view and the shift in the perspective changes.
So this is the empathy in action, right? She kept mentioning to you about empathy. This is empathy in action. You are empathizing with everyone. So, okay, this is where that person comes from.
Correct.
It is so beautiful and it is such a powerful tool.
It is, and it's very mind freeing, if I can use that word, because the minute you suddenly say that all of us are one, it is just really mind liberating.
I'm going to now slightly shift to digitalization and AI. Although the conversation we were having was so great about conflict resolution and empathy, like I think a lot of us need this, because that's what is needed. Conflict resolution, that's a hindrance to everything, and the moment you tackle it well, I think half of the battle is won there itself. But I'll have to slightly shift the topic to digitalization and AI. I'll of course start with you, Aishwarya. What is your perspective on AI? Is it a disruptor or an enabler?
I'm sure it's an enabler for you because it's totally working on your advantage.
How many of us are in this room listening and how many people can actually say I've not gone to ChatGPT? It's become such a ChatGPT, leave us at ChatGPT. Your Google AI answers are so much better. So we're all seeing how it can improve our lives in action. But again, there is a banker in me who is risk averse. So I'm a little worried that we're going all out without understanding implications. AI hallucination is real. How are you creating accountability for AI, frameworks for AI? How is your data getting stored? To everything we have to worry about. We are in a mad craze of let's keep building in AI. There will be a day, I really hope it is not one Isaac Asimov novel playing out where the robots come back to rule us kind of situation, but I think it's important to have some guardrail, regulation, everything around AI so that things happen within a box. Otherwise, they can go rogue, is what we are realizing. So that's my concern. Again, that's the risk averse banker in me, but it's a real concern for governments to address and take care of, because in this mad AI rush,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be that there are no guardrails and we're all in one place where one day we realize AIs are ruling our world.
Yeah.
They can tamper your medical, anything can happen.
True,
So
no, absolutely.
What about you, Veetika? Like, how has digital transformation impacted your industry, and how have you adapted as a leader?
So, so my team also looks after AI related initiatives and CRM and data. And I think I agree with what she said. You know, sometimes we see a technology and we kind of beat ourselves on how slowly we are embracing them. I'm talking about us as corporations.
Yeah.
I don't think it's slow at all. I think it's a very guided approach and it's important. As a large corporation, for me to take a call on AI, there are multiple aspects that my team and I and all of us need to consider. Because we are handling so many customer touch points, we are privy to so much of customer data. So it's important to take a very, very progressive, we don't have to be retro about it,
Okay.
but at the same time, an extremely thought over approach. And therefore, you know, sometimes large corporations appear to be slow adapters. Frankly, it's not slow because you know, we're being slow for the sake of being slow,
Right, they're
but it
evaluating
is
the risk.
because it's very important. You're
Yeah.
privy and you're a custodian of so many data relationships and so many customer relationships. It's important to be careful.
Yeah, so that it doesn't take us over someday. We have to be.
I have a question for both of you. Like, we'll just now wrap up the whole leadership discussion. What advice would you give to the next generation of women leaders entering the workforce today?
I think I'm fully agreeing with what Veetika mentioned in an earlier answer. Your gender has no place when you enter the workplace. I mean, maybe a little tough here, but I hate it when kids come and play the gender card with me. Do you think it's because of women? I'm a woman. I said I've never thought like that. When I've gone into a room, I've always thought, how can I be the best?
Yeah.
And how is it that I'm the person that people come to for answers? As long as we focus on that, your gender, yes, it will play a role, especially your maternity, your journey, etc. And there are enough and more cultural things. But remember, you're here till here, you've reached there because you want to beat on that. So what is the point in bringing back gender? It's going back in my mind.
Yes.
So leave your gender aside, leave anything that differentiates. And I won't say blend in, of course, your unique personality, unique this thing comes in, but it's important to go in without thinking that there is no barrier. If you imagine a glass ceiling, it's always hovering above your head. It's better to think I'm just below the sky and I can reach for the stars. I think it's a very important mindset to have for younger ladies.
Yeah, that's true.
If you could go back and whisper one thing to your younger self when you're just starting your career, what would it be?
Okay, that's an interesting one. I think I would probably, I don't think it would have been possible, frankly, because there are certain things that come with age.
Yes.
But I think, you know, we've spoken about conflict, we've spoken about empathy, we've spoken about high decision stakes. I think what's very, very important to be a successful leader is to be at no conflict with yourself first. Because a lot of peace that you emanate or a lot of calm that you exude needs to come from inside. And like I said, we're all sitting at a 5. I'm definitely sitting at a 5 out of 10. Let me not make a blanket statement, and there's miles to go.
If you're 5, Veetika, my listening is like constantly WIP, so as you can see.
But I think it's very important for leaders to make their own peace before they start practicing or preaching peace. So if I could go back, I would probably want to reach a state of zero conflict with one's own self much earlier. But like I said, I don't know if it would have been possible because age has a lot to do with it. So yes, I think I think that's about it. Beyond that, I've been very lucky. I've worked across 6 industries, some 7, 8 functional areas, all within the Tata Group. It's a beautiful group to be with. So not really had drastic challenges. Having said that, of course, I've had my career failures. You know, there are things that should have happened but didn't happen. But I think that's where, again, a deeper understanding of what's happening around you. And the more senior you go, what lands up happening is you are more exposed to volatilities which are not even within your control.
Yeah.
It's like the butterfly effect. Some movement happens somewhere in the globe, and you suddenly realize, oops, it's impacted my career and my growth, so to say. So I think it's a deep understanding of the world's infinite. The other, so that's the second thing I would have probably told myself as a younger person, that it's okay, the world is infinite. Yeah, I think the third thing is that there is nothing called failure. Absolutely nothing. So, when you're asking me today that, what would you tell yourself? Is there a failure you've been? Of course I've failed, but none of them sound like a failure to me in hindsight. They were all just preparing me for something bigger, better, making me stronger. So frankly, if you ask me, and I'm not going to change tracks, so whether it's a professional failure or whether it's been a personal relationship that's not worked out for you, I don't think I can count any of them as a failure. They've all seriously just taught me something. So yes, I guess that's it.
Your insights have been like such a huge contribution to all our viewers, I'm sure, to definitely inspire them and lead better, because the insights that you guys have thrown, it's very, very valued and very, very meaningful. Thank you so much. With that, we can start with something fun. We have this game called Red Flag, Green Flag. So I'll be telling y'all some situation and y'all can just flag if you think it's a red flag or a green flag.
Thank you.
Yeah, because all day work and no fun is just boring, so we can have some fun. Okay, your team never challenges your decision. Okay, you're thriving to be the smartest in the room. Someone taking conflicts online. Saying I'm sorry as a leader. Yeah, owning up. Yes. You are the only woman in the leadership meeting. You're praised for being nice more than being effective. Always available for a call. Yeah, work-life balance.
I apologize if I have to call your team on Saturday, Sunday. This fast moving startup and all doesn't work. Yeah, people have to have
That's true.
all the more in a high pressure.
Yes. You are a fact checker.
Especially in the age of AI hallucination, please check for facts and sources.
Women are emotional.
It's true, but how is it a red flag or a green flag? I don't know.
Maybe in between.
Emotional is it?
I think it's a green
red
flag.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Emotional is a red flag. I mean, I've been there. I still am there. Empathetic is a green flag. If
Yes,
you know what I mean.
yes.
Emotions have no place in the workplace. I know it might be an extreme view. You have to embrace it to get there. But realize that, like she said, passion is important.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. Come.
You now. You have to pick green flag or red flag. You're always evaluating decisions. It could be OCD.
Yes, absolutely.
You're making time for meditation and rejuvenation.
100%.
Fake it till you make it approach.
No.
You're too intense. Can you dial it down a little bit?
No, I think it's somewhere in between. There are times when you need to be intense, even if it means being tough. And yes, you definitely must not be intense all the time, otherwise you'll drive yourself and everyone up the wall. So yes.
In between.
You are so well spoken, I didn't expect that. Is that a green flag or a red flag?
Oh, this one is a tricky one. So if you're well spoken, but I didn't expect that.
Context matters. What if we went in there thinking we don't want them to know we are well spoken? Then it's a red flag or a green flag.
So the funniest is I've been told this, which is why maybe I'm getting a little flummoxed on this one. I had made my presentation probably at the age of 26, and after that I had one of the panelists come to me, an external panelist, and say, "You spoke really well." I said, "Thank you." He said, "Don't do that."
Okay.
And I was like, "Okay, how does this work?" And he said, "You were so well spoken that it almost looked like you didn't have the answers, but you were just making them up." I said, no, that's not true. I did have the answers, and hence I was speaking with a certain sense of clarity and confidence. He says, yes, I can see through that, and I can see that you knew the answers. But a lot of people may have a perception that just because you're speaking so well and speaking so confidently, maybe you're making things as you're going. So I was actually told to change my communication style and slow it down a little bit so that it appears more real. So maybe that's the memory triggered of it. I was just wondering, was it a red or a green?
Yeah, I get your dilemma now. I totally get it after the story you just told us.
It's a green because, frankly, he was giving me genuine advice. He came as a well-wisher and he said, I understand, but this is my advice to you. Take it or leave it. Did it upset me? Of course it did. So which is why maybe I got a little caught up. Sorry.
That's okay. We can move on to the next question.
Yes.
Someone coming and telling you that, can you handle this high pressure client? It's going to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, always up for high pressure.
Okay. You're great at organizing. You should handle the team party.
100% green flag, and I have a view here. There are a lot of things in the organizational world and the corporate world that we take as seemingly, if I may say so, petty. Not at all. I think, honestly, a lot of my job today is about team parties and team engagements because, like I said, that's what I'm sitting here for. I'm not sitting here to do projects on my own.
Yes.
I'm sitting here to make sure my team is in the right environment.
Yes.
When someone comes and tells you, let's not talk about the pay now, we'll revisit it later.
I think I'm okay. I genuinely am okay. See, I think I'm interpreting a lot of your statements with a certain sense of everything doesn't have to be here and now. So if my manager does come back and say, let's have a conversation on your pay later, the conversation is ending with a certain belief. Am I taking the fun of this fun exercise?
No, Veetika, I am thinking it's your life experiences that are shaping this. She works in a Tata group, right? I mean, I'm assuming in a Tata group, if they say that, they'll do it. I've worked in all kinds of organizations. So
I would genuinely assume that it's okay to not have it right now. Let's come back to it later.
You're a deep thinker.
I am, because I'm realizing I think I'm taking the fun of it. Give me the easier ones.
Okay, I'll just
Like you write
Yes. I'll just go with this or
a
that.
drink before or after the meeting. I can answer that.
I'm coming straight up to that. Let's just play this or that, coffee or tea.
Coffee.
Work or play.
Both.
Nice.
Or play at work.
Now you're fun.
Strategy or execution.
Both.
Planner or improviser.
At the stage that I'm in, probably more of an improviser.
Mentor or mentee?
Both. You're constantly learning.
Wow.
And it's only because you're constantly learning that you're able to preach to others.
That's lovely. 9 to 5 or flexible hours.
Flexible.
Delegate or do it yourself.
Delegate.
Early riser or night owl.
Early riser.
Lovely. Risk taker or rule follower.
I think, rules need to be enforced by culture and processes. Risk in today's world has to be taken if you want to take not just incremental jumps, but a paradigm change.
Okay.
I'll wrap up with the last question. Music while working or silence?
Music.
Yay! Okay, with that, I have some good news. Thank you so much. You guys were such lovely, lovely leaders to share so much insight.
Thank you so much.
A small gratitude token from Amplyft.
No, thank you so much. This has been super fun. And you can call us again. You know our number.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope you guys enjoyed listening to the podcast and our leaders Veetika and Aishwarya. We will keep getting more executive voices. In the meantime, if you want to upgrade your leadership skills, at Amplyft we have a dedicated program only for women leaders. So please guys, the contact details are in the description box, and in the meantime, like, share and subscribe if you like this episode. We will have more coming in, so stay tuned guys. Thank you so much.